Hey everyone, it's Tox from CritsHappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Today we've got a critical review of Zombicide. Zombicide is a big game. As you can see by everything laid out in front of me, there's quite a bit in this box. This is a Kickstarter game that was from Cool Mini or Not, and it's Guillotine Games is the producer. But essentially Zombicide pits you as one of 6 survivors of a zombie apocalypse. You're in a city which is built by using these two-sided tiles that'll have different denotions per scenario as to which ones you'll use. But you're going to run through different scenarios, and some of them may be as simple as stay alive, some of them may be as hard as get to certain objective tokens, and all of them are very deep in theme and very deep in the whole survival tactic idea of getting as much gear as possible to do as much damage as possible and kill as many zombies. I hope everyone is really hungry and really hungry for brains. There's quite a bit of it in this game. So why don't you come with me? Grab your fire axe, grab your baseball bat, grab your submachine guns, and let's delve into the world of Zombicide. So here you see one of the scenarios, and I'm not going to go through all of the rules of gameplay. I'm just going to walk through some basic things around gameplay. But to start the game off, each of your players has a card. So let's take a look at Ned's, for example. Ned's shows us that he has a danger zone across the top. And you'll notice there's different colors between blue, yellow, orange, and red, ranging up to 43 points. When you start the game, everyone starts off in the blue, and as they kill, they move up towards the right. There are 2 card slots for cards in hand, and 3 card slots behind for cards in reserve. Now, as you move up, you get different abilities. And again, since everyone starts in the blue, this leftmost ability is what they start with. So in Ned's case, he gets a free search action every turn. When he gets up and has killed 7 points worth of zombies or finds objective tokens possibly that give him points, he can choose the next ability, which is +1 action. And naturally, each survivor gets 3 actions. As he moves up into the orange, he then has an option to choose between an additional die for ranged attacks or an additional die for combat actions. And then when he gets into the red, the 43-point area and beyond, he gets to choose between 3. Now, when you move into the orange and you move into the red, by normal rules, you just pick one and then you move on. So you can even customize your characters game by game. Now, to give you an idea in comparison, Amy, for example, who wields a beautiful katana, she gets +1 free move action to start the game. She gets additional action when she moves into yellow. Her orange options are +1 free combat or +1 free move, and her red options are +1 die to combat, +1 die to dice roll combat, or medic. So lots of options just from these 2 guys alone. There are 6 survivors in the game from the base game. There are additional survivors as well. In fact, if you didn't get into the Abomination packs or get any of the additional survivors, if you download the iOS app that is a companion to this, their details and their information is in there, and you can keep track of the survivors and just use a different mini to be able to represent that survivor on the board. And to start the game off, there are 3 different weapons that are shuffled up, which are the crowbar, the pistol, and the fire axe. Now, the difference between these, the fire axe, you'll notice in the upper right, has a noise icon and a door, which means you can open a door using that weapon, but it's going to cost you, or it's going to give you a noise token. And we'll explain about that in a second. You can also kill a zombie. You'll notice in the kind of middle lower left, you can kill a zombie with no sound whatsoever with it. Now, the icons along the bottom, going from left to right, on the left is its range. So in this case, it's 0. You can only attack something in the same zone you're in. It rolls 1 die, it hits on a 4+, and it deals 2 damage. We'll explain the damage in a second as well. Next, there is the pistol. The pistol has no way of opening a door, but can kill a zombie and will give you a noise icon for that, or a noise token for that. It has a range of 0 to 1, so obviously with a gun you can shoot and hit from a little farther away. It too rolls 1 die, hits on a 4+, but it only does 1 damage. And then finally there's a crowbar. A crowbar can open a door or kill a zombie and not give you any noise tokens. It has a 0 range, it has 1 die to roll, it hits on a 4+, and it deals 1 damage. So for this example, we're going to go ahead and just say that Ned started off with the fire axe. Now most games will have anywhere between 4 to 6 survivors on the board. In our case here, you see there's 6 out there, and I would be playing 2 between Ned and Amy. Now there's only those 3 weapons like I talked about. If there are 6 survivors, there has to be something for the others to get. So in this case, let's say we dealt all those 3 starting cards out and randomly Amy didn't get anything. Well, the remaining survivors get a pan. The pan is unable to open doors but can kill a zombie. It's a 0 range, 1 die, hits only on a 6+, and only does 1 damage. So the odds of killing a zombie with a pan are pretty slim, but they're always there and it's always an option. Now, the gameplay in Zombicide is very, very unique. When you look at other games, maybe like Descent, or things that have tiles that are on a board and move around, the movement is generally space by space by space, or hex by hex by hex, and things like that. Basically in Zombicide, as these tiles get put together, you'll notice that there's crosswalks. And everything within a crosswalk is one zone. Now you'll notice I can move this tile away, and this part of the zone is on one tile, and this part of the zone is on another tile. So when they come together, they form one very big zone. So if I were to move from this area to this area, which is actually one zone made up of the 4 corners of 4 tiles, it's still only one movement. So movement moves very, very fast. In addition, the rooms inside of Zombicide, inside the buildings, are going to be 1 movement point each. So this one big room right here is 1 movement point. So if I wanted to move from here, or from here to here to here, it would be 1, 2 movement points. And the inside of buildings are very, very dangerous, which we'll get to in just 1 second. So, as you saw in the beginning, there is a host, an absolute host of zombies that you can use. And this is only one tray of the zombies. But essentially, there's 4 types of zombies. There are walkers, which are slow, shambling, may get up to you, but you may get to them first. There are runners, which are fast and have multiple actions. There are fatties, and fatties are big, huge, giant guys that are really going to take a lot of damage to take down. And finally, there's the abomination. The abomination, of course, is the big bad guy. If there's 1 or more of him, it can get really, really bad. Now, the base set comes with about 70 plus zombies. There's only 1 abomination. There's a ton of walkers and a handful of runners and a handful of fatties. Now, what happens when you run out of zombies? Can you run out of zombies? Yes, you can. Let's talk a little bit about how the turns go around. Basically, each scenario has different objectives. For this case, let's not worry about objectives, let's just worry about combat and what happens. But the objectives are very fun. They could be everything from picking up objective tokens throughout the different areas, getting into cars and driving cars off, searching to find certain items, or just surviving. Sometimes it's even fun to just do last man standing. But essentially what happens is each survivor has 3 actions, and they can do a multitude of different things with their actions. They can move, they can search, they can fight, they can trade, they can rearrange their inventory, a whole lot of different things. But let's say, for example, I wanted to be Ned, who is this red guy, and I moved him out of here with 1 action and a second action to move up here, leaving me with 1 natural action plus my +1 free search that he has. Well, there is a deck of red cards right here that you'll see, which are different items that you can find throughout the game. And in this case, we would search and we would find a baseball bat. The baseball bat is a melee weapon that allows us to kill a zombie without taking a noise token. It's a 0 range, 1 die, hits on a 3+, and does 1 damage. So we could put that in our hand. Now, that's his 3 actions for his turn. But in addition, Ned has the +1 free search action. So we could search again, and we would get a machete. Now you'll notice the machete has this dual wield symbol at the top. We'll explain that in a second. So we could replace the baseball bat in our reserve and put the machete in play. Machete's allowing you to do more damage. It's a 0 range, 1 die attack, hits on a 4+, and deals 2 damage. So what does the damage matter? What does it matter if something does 1 damage versus 2 damage versus 3 damage? Well, it matters quite a bit when it comes to the zombies. Let's say all of our survivors are done. Well, after the survivors are done, the zombies take effect. There is an entire different zombie deck, which is yellow cards. And these, and I should point this out, these are half-height cards, which I'm usually not a fan of. But the quality of these cards are really, really good. I usually have trouble with my big fat paws shuffling these little cards, but these are really, really well done. The thickness and the quality of them are really good. What you do is you go around each one of these red areas that have these little zombie tokens on them, and these are spawn points. And essentially, you're going to go starting at 1 and going all the way around clockwise, reveal one of these cards. Now this one says it's time to kick some butt. You'll notice that there's different levels and different kinds of zombies that are going to come out. And what it all matters to is which of your survivors is highest on their danger zone track. So to start the game off, everybody's blue. So if we drew this, it says, phew, 0, we don't get any zombies in this zone, which is really, really good for us because we don't have to worry about more of them coming out and hurting us. But let's say the next card for the top zone up there is this one. It says it's time to kick some butt. But this one says bad, and it says 1 times walker. So we would take a walker from the reserve of zombies and place them up here at the top. Now, let's say, for example, we got a fatty who is really, really nasty over here. When fatties spawn, they actually spawn with 2 walkers next to them. So they are going to bring some friends and be really, really hard to take out. Now, in addition, you could get runners, and runners are basically faster versions of walkers. Now, let's assume some zombies were already out on the board. That was the spawn phase, what you just saw, where you would draw cards for each one and place them based on the highest rated survivor or highest survivor's danger zone chart. So as you get up and move up, for example, you could have 1 walker in blue here. You could have 2 or 1 runner in yellow here, 1 fatty in orange here, or 4 runners in red here. So while you're going to gain more experience and gain more abilities as you go up on the danger zone chart, you're also going to have the risk of more zombies, meteor zombies, and more things to kill. Now, the first thing on a normal zombie turn, if they're already existing on the board, is they actually attack. And attacking is very, very simple from a zombie perspective. If there is a zombie in the zone with a survivor, they deal 1 damage to that survivor. The survivor loses one of their cards that they have equipped, and in change, they get a wounded card. Now, the wounded cards are very important because once somebody has 2 wounds, they are dead and they are gone. So you want to make sure to steer clear of the zombies so that you don't get trapped in a zone that has a lot of them. Now, if you're in a zone with only a handful of zombies, like let's say Ned's here with only 1, he can still move out of that zone, but it's going to cost him an extra movement point for each zombie in the zone. So you're not completely trapped, but it's never really good to be surrounded for sure. Now, let's assume there's no one in that zone with Ned when the zombies start their turn. They would go through their attack phase, and in this case, they're not in a zone with any of the survivors. They would then move, and they would each move 1 space towards the zone that has the most noise tokens in it. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important because as you open doors and as you gain noise tokens, you may have some people on this side of the board that have a lot of noise tokens and some people over here that don't have a lot of noise tokens. Zombies will naturally move to people they see, but if they can't see you, they're going to move to what they hear the most. So if there's a whole bunch of zombies over here, we've knocked in these doors and we're all the way over here, they're going to come after, via the shortest path, whoever's making the most noise. That's why noise tokens are very, very important. And in addition, each survivor just by themselves counts as a noise token because you're breathing, you're moving, you're doing stuff. And obviously, no matter how calm we all would like to say we're going to be, when the zombie apocalypse hits, even the most toughest of people are going to be a little stressed out. Now, combat from a Zombicide, like I said, is very simple. If they're in that zone, they deal a damage to you. So yes, that means if there's 2 zombies in your zone when they start their turn, they're going to deal 2 damage to you and they're going to destroy and kill that survivor. When there's multiple survivors in a zone, the players can choose who gets the wound or who gets the wounds. So you can distribute that up a little bit. Now, attacking from a survivor out to a zombie is a little different. Let's say, for example, Amy and Ned are in this zone and this walker is with them. And let's say it's Amy's turn to go first. She wants to use her frying pan and use one of her actions to attack the zombie. Well, it's very simple. Again, if you look at the pan statistics, it's a 0 range, so she's in the same zone. It rolls 1 die, so you would take 1 6-sided die. It hits on a 6+, and it deals 1 damage. So let's go ahead and roll and see what Amy would get. In this case, she would get a 4, so she would miss and she wouldn't hit the zombie. If she got a 6, though, she would take the zombie and remove it from the board. She would move her experience tracker up 1 and then continue on with the rest of her turns. Now, why is the amount of damage that a weapon does important? Well, here's why. Let's say this fatty was in this zone, and he's in there with Ned, and Ned has his machete. The machete deals 2 damage, and the pan that Amy had only dealt 1 damage. Well, weapons that deal 1 damage don't hurt fatties, so they can't kill it. The bullets, for example, on a pistol would just bounce off of it. The frying pan would just ding him in the head and make him just spin around maybe, but not do any damage to him at all. So to kill a walker or a runner, you have to deal damage with a weapon that deals at least 1 point of damage. To kill a fatty, you need to kill them with something that can deal 2 damage. To kill an abomination, you need to have something that can deal 3 damage. So, in this case, Ned would attack with his machete. And again, the machete is a 0 range, they're in the same zone. 1 die, hits on a 4+, and deals 2 damage. So he would roll his die, and he would get a 5, so he would deal 1 hit to the zombie, and boom. Now, you'll see a lot of other things that are on the board here. You'll see cars like the Pimp Mobile and the police. Depending on the scenario, they will tell you how to use them, or you yourself can come up with creative ideas of how to use them as well. Sometimes they're there to drive off the map. Sometimes they're there to search and find special equipment. There are some equipment that you can only find by searching inside the Pimp Mobile as well, which is really cool. Now, buildings. Let's take a second and talk about buildings, because as you can see, there's this big giant building area in here, and there's these door tokens that when you break them open, will open up the building. Buildings are really interesting, because buildings, unlike the streets where you see the spawn zones, you don't know what's going to be inside. And once you break open the door to a building, you have to go through each room one by one by one and draw over each one of these yellow cards to see what's going to spawn in that room. So, the longer you wait to gain experience and get up this danger zone, the more bad things that are going to be in this building. But the sooner you break in, the more zombies you're going to have to deal with without having that many abilities. So there's a lot of risks, a lot of calculations you got to take into as to when the right time is to break into the buildings, if you even want to break into the buildings. Now, obviously, again, because of the scenarios, there's some things that you're going to have to break into buildings to get objective tokens, and you yourself can be as creative as you want to come up with your own scenarios to do that as well. But the building tiles are really fun because they can mean an absolute mass amount of chaos, or if you go in early and you get a lot of the 0 spawn cards, you could come away pretty safe. But again, the fun in Zombicide is about getting as much gear as possible by searching, getting things like chainsaws or katanas or sawed-off shotguns, getting things that provide you like goalie masks or ammo and things to be able to give you augmented upgrades to your stuff. But more fun than anything is searching for 2 items. the glass bottle, and the gasoline. When you have these, you'll notice on the bottom that it says the glass bottle plus the gasoline equals a Molotov cocktail, or the gasoline plus the glass bottle equals the Molotov cocktail. And like I said, you can trade with your other survivors as well. Well, what's so great about the Molotov cocktail? Well, the Molotov cocktail kills zombies and obviously is going to cause noise. It has a 0 to 1 range, but you'll see it rolls a special amount of dice, hits on a special number, and deals a lot of damage. Basically, the Molotov cocktail, when thrown, kills everything in a single zone. Everything. Fatties, runners, walkers, the abomination, and yes, survivors. A lot of times, the real tension inside of Zombicide is when it's time for that survivor or survivors to bite the dust. There's a lot of times where you may send a survivor off knowing that they're going on a suicide mission. And it's a lot of fun to plan those things out and see how they can come together. More importantly, see if you can get them out of harm's way and make it through to the end. So that's Zombicide. Let's start off from a component standpoint. From a component standpoint, this game is top-notch. It's absolutely beautiful. The minis, even though they're all gray, have a very unique sculpt to them, and very quickly and visually, by looking at the field of play, you can tell where the walkers are, where the runners are, where the fatties are. They're just a very unique difference to each style of zombie, and it really sets itself out. Now, the survivors are the same way. Apart from being different colors and very easy to pick out, they're very unique, they match with the artwork that's on their card, and they look really, really good. Whether you paint your minis or whether you don't, you're going to be very satisfied with the minis in this game. Now, aside from that, the other things are amazing. These pieces that make up the city, these are hard, man. These things do not bend, and that's really exciting. We have beaten ours to pulps, and it hasn't bent on the corners. There's been no problems with them. They've been really, really good. And that extends to the other pieces. The pieces that are the doors and the noise tokens, they're all very thick cardboard, very sturdy, don't really have to worry about a lot of damage happening to this. And that said, the storage is amazing, so it's going to keep everything in good condition as well. But even throughout regular gameplay, this thing is going to stand up to wear and tear, which is really exciting. Now, in terms of the cards, I have to make a comment about this. As most of you know who follow me, I'm not usually a fan of these half-height cards. This is the first game that I can say I actually like them, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Because of the fact that your character cards have such a limited amount of space, the half-height works. But more so, the quality and the stock of the card that they chose is really, really good. My main problem with half-height cards is my hands are so meat hook and giant that I usually have a problem shuffling them, and I just don't usually have enough sleeves to sleeve all of them because there's usually a lot of them. So these, for some reason though, is a very unique quality card stock that I've never seen before, and they've done a really, really good job. I was really happy with that. So component-wise, it's absolutely amazing. But then you tack on the fact that there is an entire iOS app for the iPad that is beautifully done, that allows you to manage your characters very, very streamlined and very, very well. They've just done quite a bit from both the base component experience and additional add-on experience that just adds to the total game. It's really, really well done. The other thing that's very nice is you get a lot of components. You get a lot of objective tokens, a lot of noise tokens, a lot of minis, obviously. So while you can run all the scenarios that are in the rules and all the optional scenarios you can download or find on guillotinegames.com, there is a ton of customization that you can do with all of this to really make the game your own. And that kind of bleeds into the gameplay. So from a gameplay experience, there are things I like and things I don't. It's probably best to jump right into the things I don't, and we'll finish it up with the things that I do. If you've played this game, or if you've researched this game, or if you've seen this game, you've probably heard this discussion. The ranged rules are very unique. Now, with the ranged rules, if there are zombies in one zone and a survivor in another, and they shoot into that zone, there's a priority in which they get hit. And I believe it's walker, fatty, and runner in that order of how they get hit. So if there's any walkers in the zone, they'll get hit first. Fatties, they'll get hit next, and then runners will get hit last. Makes sense because runners are a little faster. The challenge thing, part that really just kind of bothers me a little, is if there is a survivor in that zone, the survivor takes precedent over everyone else. So if Phil's here, and Ned's here, and our abomination is in here, or if there were walkers in here, or just any zombies in there, and Phil shoots into that zone, poor Ned is going to take the first hit, no matter what. Now, there's some people who will talk about balancing and game control and things like that, but thematically I had a problem with that for two reasons. Number one, these are 6 badass survivors. They've been able to survive this long already through all these zombies, and you're going to tell me they did that by shooting all the other survivors? That didn't make sense. The other thing that really bothered me, there are abilities you can pick up throughout the game from equipment that you can get and combine that will let you choose your targets when you shoot into a zone. But are you really going to tell me that the one last cop standing doesn't know how to hit an opponent? Let alone if you're in a zone with like 8 zombies and 1 survivor, they're going to hit that 1 survivor? It just seemed a little odd and took a little bit away from the theme and the gameplay piece of it. We did a very simple couple of house rules to kind of amend that, what we've done, in case it's of interest to anybody. Number 1, Phil, being a cop, gets to choose which targets he hits. So he automatically has that sniper ability to be able to go ahead and shoot whatever he wants to shoot. But number 2 is if it's a survivor that's out there, let's say there's just, I don't know, let's say Amy's out there and she's got a gun and she's going to shoot in here. We would roll a die. And on an even number, she would hit the survivor or survivors first. If it was an odd number, she would hit the zombies first. So it at least gave people a fighting chance. We did find in early games, people wanted to get into the mix with zombies, but the danger was the backup support you had was all ranged, and you were going to end up taking damage. So I wasn't really thrilled with the ranged rules that are in the base set. But again, this is a very customizable game, so you can do your own rules to kind of tweak that and amend that. Now that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the base rules. It just feels a little off sometimes thematically when you're shooting into a zone with 9 zombies and 1 survivor, and the only thing you're going to hit with your first hit is the survivor. Now that said, the gameplay is really, really solid. And honestly, that's really the only thing that I haven't liked is those ranged rules. Everything else is very, very streamlined. In fact, what I kept thinking playing this game is, wow, this is Last Night on Earth streamlined. I love Last Night on Earth. I think Last Night on Earth is a crit of a game, and we've had a ton of fun playing that game and some of its expansions. And to me, it's kind of the standard or the flag bearer in terms of zombie board games. This game does not surpass that at all. I would put this a little lower than Last Night on Earth. But in terms of actual gameplay, it's very, very fun. It's streamlined. It is bring out the zombies, have them chase down the noisiest, loud-making survivors, and shoot them up and kill them. I mean, the tagline on this of gear up and take them down is very, very true to the gameplay. There's not a lot of deep strategy, but that said, you will find yourself making strategic moves. I think the key balance is that there's enough strategy to have fun, but not too much strategy where you're going to sit here for 15 minutes trying to work out which survivor goes where and who does what. It is a very fast-paced game. It is very much grab dice, roll dice, deal damage, and shoot. And probably the best thing I've heard anyone say of this was a good friend of mine, Tim Norris, who runs Grey Elephant Gaming. He said, man, it's like a B-movie flick. And that's a great way to describe this. It is very, very solid and balanced, apart from the range rule that I have an issue with. Gameplay that is going to provide a really good streamlined zombie experience. The weapons are fun. The weapons make sense. Being able to get 2 weapons at the same time and roll them together makes a really big difference. But the gameplay is very, very well done. From opening doors, to searching and finding zombies, to the random pop-up zombie. They've just done a really good job with that. And that leads us to the experience. Experience-wise, this is an absolute blast of a game. I have yet, whether we're playing solo, 2-player, 5-player, 6-player, I have yet to have anybody sit down and just be like, meh. It is a super fun game. There's so much happening. Whether it's the survivors' turns and they're trying to take down zombies, whether it's the zombies' turns and they're chasing down the people with the noise, whether you're searching and you're getting more zombies popping up, whether you make that cross into the yellow to the orange to the red and you're going to have to deal with the next zombie spawn. There's just so many things happening that make it an interactive game. And because the survivors are working together, it is very cooperative and you're having to align with each other's strategies, that there's never really downtime, and that makes for an absolute blast of an experience. I absolutely love games that pull everybody in and grab you by the seat of your pants and get you moving, and this is definitely that type of game. So, where does that all lead us to? Well, it leads us down the path to a crit. Zombicide is by no means the greatest zombie game ever made, but it is super fun, and for the value that you get for what you will pay, even just for the base set in stores now or online, whether you kickstarted and got an early copy or whether you're getting one now, there is a tremendous amount of value inside of this box. Just the minis alone, there's a ton of minis that are really good quality. But then inside of that, you get a highly customizable system, a very, very fun system in terms of interaction with other players, and something that you can throw down and make a 3 or 4 hour game out of, or a 30 minute to 60 minute game out of, and just have an absolute blast. The other thing that I've really enjoyed is solo. Solo play Zombicide is really, really fun. It does take a little bit to get used to because you have to control several characters all at once, but if you use that iOS app or if you are just using the cards, once you get the hang of moving all the different guys around at once, it really becomes a great experience. So overall, Zombicide gets a crit from critshappen.com. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this critical review. Feel free to let us know your thoughts in the comment area below in YouTube. You can of course find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Google+. You just have to search Crits Happen, or you can find us at our homepage at critshappen.com. But until we see you next time, we hope that you have fun taking your katana, your submachine guns, and your pimp mobile and destroying all of the zombies inside of Zombicide. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits. Thank you again to Dragon's Lair for providing us a copy of this game to review for you. Check them out online at dlair.net for all your comic and gaming needs.